a higher family. He's the Most High, holy and eternal, King of all kings, the only true wise and living God, the Almighty. Well, hello again. So coming on now with a video for our sister channel, the New Global Virtual Nation of Israel. As you know, we have started this new channel to really launch our global virtual nation, because we are essentially a nation in waiting. In fact, I wouldn't even say we have next, we have now, right now, because as we are aware, Yahuwah really has broken into the affairs of the earth and is doing great things in really beginning to reinstate his people once again. And we can see that really as in former times, the enemy is trying to resist this, and most chiefly even using people within our own nation to try to derail a revival and a recovery of their own nation. So anyway, we shouldn't really be surprised by any of these things, but just maintain the determination to now move forward with Yahuwah, having understood now the context historically in which we stand, really. We can now be advised and guided by our history, and in so doing avoid many of the pitfalls. So we're still continuing really to elaborate this history on our channel, Repairers of the Breach, and we'll still be continuing to do that, and also really seeking Yahuwah also to lead us in our mission to navigate our path to return successfully to him, as he does require, because this really should be our sole goal and motivation, really, as the people of God, because God really is our culture and is the very core and the very reason for Israel's whole existence. So seeing we know now that deliverance for Israel will come from the Lord her God, the mandate rests very strongly upon us. Don't we sure that we do that with all of our heart in seeking to really put him first. So the purpose of our new global virtual nation is mobilization, really essentially. So to be more of a practical and even more of a political arm, really, in now seeking to move forward to recover well, many things really that have either gone awry socially, personally, amongst our peoples, and also to address the strongholds also that are foundational to many of the problems that we see. But also on a very, very practical scale, really just to bring our peoples together to address a number of strongholds, social ills. So think of it as a nation-scale social ecosystem, if you will. A sort of exercise in digital nation building. Because yes, we are a literal nation, but we're now aiming here to unite digitally first and to establish a number of collabs also to begin to move ourselves forward, hopefully empower ourselves, including economically, as well around a number of issues. So the idea really is to, I wouldn't say make it a free-for-all, but make it quite interactive. So we're welcoming people who have insights, knowledge really into various areas. If the people who know things about cryptocurrency and investing, then do by all means contact us. Also to do a collab really around all of that to really encourage our people to move into these sorts of areas. And even on national scales as well, there are many ways that we can actually optimize and work together. For instance, I know that very, very clearly in the Caribbean, things like hospitality and tourism are things that we know a lot about. There are many African nations who really could do perhaps more to really optimize their countries around tourism, really, and could really do with the interchange of experts from our nations coming into theirs to advise on various things and to help really to move these things forward as well. So there are many unexplored areas and things that we really can do to collaborate and to work effectively together as well in a new spirit, of I guess goodwill, intelligence, determination to move forward really as a peoples, because we know there is a lot of water under the bridge, but we need to start somewhere. So we're going to be looking into these sorts of areas really as part of this overall channel. Also continue to explore our history and heritage also, because we do have a very, very rich historical heritage, and many of our peoples who, well, are Israel and do live as other nations. We have actually understood that Israel was actually driven out of her land around about 700 or so years before the coming of Christ. We see through even the prophecies of Isaiah how he did actually foretell of this, writing very often to the northern kingdom to advise them to really heed their ways, really, and to correct various things to prevent themselves being driven out. But unfortunately that wasn't the case, because there are other existential problems as well around their worshipping other gods also, because if you recall, we've actually explored the whole narrative as to how the king of Israel didn't want his people going into Jerusalem to actually worship at the temple there, because he was afraid he'd actually lose his kingdom, and that there'd be a call for the whole country to reunify again. And of course, if that were the case, there'd be no need for Ephraim or for a king for Israel. So in his own personal interest, he set up a calf or set up an idol in a separate place in Samaria and told the people to actually resort there to worship. And that was actually the beginning of the end, because it resulted in them degenerating into idolatry. And at that point, the clock was ticking, and for them to then be driven out of their land, unfortunately. So I really explored this whole overall history. So those nations are people who do today live as other nations, mainly they are in Africa, do have a very rich historical heritage, well, as other nations. And we do have a wealth of stories as well that we need to actually share and collaborate to really bring each other up to speed as to where we have, well, how we have come to be where we find ourselves today, and the journey which we have made, really, essentially, to arrive at where we currently are. This only adds to the rich spiritual heritage that is Israel overall. So for that reason, we have a channel, Diaspora Voices, where we're going to really try to delve into some of these stories. So again, we're welcoming collaborations from those within these nations who have this expertise and knowledge and history. I'm also particularly interested in also the spiritual heritage around Congo as well. I understand there were some mighty prophets within Congo that were very, very blessed and moved by the Spirit of God. People like Simeon Toko, I think there's another one called Kimbango. I hope I haven't mispronounced his name. But I understand there were a number of quite mighty prophets really in that nation that were very, very keen to really explore their stories and narratives also, and understand how that really did unfold. And also looking at the interactions also of the Catholic churches also in these nations, which have had quite a major role. Well, even in these nations being where they currently are today, really on the back foot, is where they have been very much tried to be put, as the history does attest to this. So again, not me just saying these things to be dramatic, the history does substantiate it, and we're going to explore these sorts of themes as well, and to understand how we now move forward, being really at the current point in history we currently find ourselves now again, essentially, as we have come to understand, at a point where this whole history, in a sense, is in danger of reinitiating again, in very real ways. And of course, we have the whole historical context of the past 2,000 years, which does now require reckoning and address. For this reason, we've actually attempted to organise an event around about or just after the Feast of Trumpets to really explore some of these themes and to understand what we now need to do to move forward. So I also need to apologise also for the quality of my videos presently. I'm having, how do you call it, spiritual warfare around my actual devices. So I currently don't have a laptop currently. That seems to, for some reason, not be working. I've totally broken. And my phones are a little bit, one was actually paired or hacked into, which has been verified that it has been hacked. And I'm still not sure it's even been released. I think the people who have hacked it are still currently logged into it, because when they do that, I can't use it at all. It totally knocks me off the other end of it, which is how I tend to know that it is currently being compromised. So I'm having a number of challenges, actually even working with my phone also. So incidentally, if you want to support our efforts to replace my laptop, certainly then do click on the link Alice